Okay guys, for our group, we wanted to dive into the world of 3D printing. My name is Nicholas Corton.
I'm Felipe Alaban.
I'm Ethan Rousseau.
I'm Jason Schill.
And let's start out with our video. Wow, we're here at Syracuse Makerspace, where students are allowed to 3D print and design their own t-shirts for free.
Makerspace is a place where Syracuse University students can come in and print out 3D models and also make t-shirts for themselves.
What's up, guys? I'm Jason. We're here at Makerspace. Let's print some 3D items.
Hey guys, Felipe here. We're at Makerspace at Syracuse University. We're working in some 3D models to print for our project. We have a dragon, a dragon head, and also the Notre Dame cathedral. This is the model we decided to print, and this is the STL file that we chose.
As you can see, this is the beginner stage of our model dragon. We just started, and we'll show you what it looks like in about 30 minutes.
Fascinating, isn't it?
As you can see, if you look closely, we have this wire, which is the ink making our product. Fascinating, isn't it? What's up, guys? And you walk into this room, here we have the shirt making machine, make any design on your shirt, and wood carving machine. As you can see, this is what it makes. Incredible.
You see this? This is the biggest homemade 3D printer ever. They made it with $12,000. If I wanted to buy this, I would need to spend at least $25,000. Isn't this fascinating?
How much does it cost? Like how much would this cost?
I mean, if you're saying, it's great.
I know, like,
Theoretically?
yeah.
Materials wise, it's probably like $10. Slocum has a 3D print lab for architecture students.
If I want to make like a basketball.
Just gauging the audience, should we continue this video, with the blooper section?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, we can. So we're no longer responsible for the contents of the blooper section. Here at Makerspace, they offer a plethora of Adobe products free to Syracuse students. For example, we have Adobe Premiere.
Give me at least a couple pizza shots.
Couple pizza shots.
Give me a good pizza shot. I want like a good bite.
Picture it like
This is where we take our lunch breaks.
lunch break session with the boys and
Yeah. Very informative video. So here's none of us ended up picking up our model dragon that was printed, and somebody swiped it from us. So instead, I have this right here that I'd like to pass around the classroom. This is a 3D model knight, and what I want you guys to pay attention to is the way that 3D models are printed. It's layer by layer, so it's kind of interesting to see the build when it's completed, because as you could see in the video, it was very small, just printing layer by layer. Of course, here's our simplified steps of 3D printing. The first is to find a design. The specific type of file that you need is an STL file. That's the only 3D printing file that like the 3D printers will accept and understand. Secondly, you have to upload design to a 3D printer. So this is really easy to do because you guys as Syracuse students have access to Makerspace, which exists right below Kimmel. And right after you send it to the printer, you just have to wait for your product to print and enjoy. So Blender is the most popular program used for 3D printers. And a lot of the websites where you can download 3D print designs, they kind of talk about a community, or they have a certain community. So each website kind of has a number of curators that use Blender to make 3D products. And here's one of the most popular websites if you're looking for an STL file yourself, Thingiverse. The problem with Thingiverse, or not the problem really, is just that they have a lot of 3D prints that are costly. So there are two types of STL files. There's an STL file that you can download for free. An example is that dragon that we had. But there are STL files that kind of can cost upwards of hundreds of dollars, and you'll find a lot of those on Thingiverse. So this website is kind of for the 3D hefty-minded person that's looking to print a complex product. Pinshape, so this was actually the program that Felipe and I used to find our 3D printed model dragon, because I found online when doing some research initially that Pinshape was kind of the easiest to understand. Like, if you didn't want to go through all the trouble of learning Blender and making your own 3D print designs, I definitely recommend you going to Pinshape, looking up certain things, and kind of just playing around with it. And here you'll find a lot of free models of STL files. The last one is Yegi. So Yegi was kind of advertised as the Google for 3D printed items. So this website is different than the others because they have a wide database of 3D printed items that pretty much varies from like a lot of different sectors. Here we go. Moving on.
Thank you, Nick. So now I'll be talking about the history of 3D printing. As you can see, I listed a bunch of events down from the 80s all the way to about around 2010. But since you probably don't want to hear me list off every one, I'm just going to talk about each era, the most important thing that I found interesting. So the first 3D patent printing technologies first became visible in the late 1980s, at which the time they were called rapid prototyping. The very first patent was developed by Dr. Kodomo in Japan in 1980. Unfortunately, this patent specification was apparently not filed before the one-year deadline, so he had a problem with that. So the origins of 3D printing can be traced back to all the way to 1986 when the first patent was issued for stereolithography apparatus, which Nick mentioned, SLA. This patent belonged to Charles Hull, this man right here. He invented this first SLA machine in 1983. He went on to co-found 3D Systems Corporation, which today is one of the largest and most prolific 3D printing organizations out there. Going on to the 90s, CAD tools for 3D printing became more and more available and developed for people. The 90s were also the decade of the first application of 3D printing by medical researchers. And they started to combine medicine and 3D printing so they could help out individuals. Going on to the 2000s, before I start, I just have a video I'd like to show of how 3D printing is gaining media from the President of the United States, our former president.
Ceramics are advancements for
Your phone, your car, you could easily be surrounded by 100 to 150 cancer devices.
I think the future of ceramics is potential. Inspiring is making America a magnet for new jobs and manufacturing.
After shedding jobs for more than 10 years, our manufacturers have added about 500,000 jobs over the past 3. Caterpillar is bringing jobs back from Japan. Ford is bringing jobs back from Mexico. And this year, Apple will start making Macs in America again. There are things we can do right now to accelerate this trend. Last year, we created our first Manufacturing Innovation Institute in Youngstown, Ohio. The once shuttered warehouse is now a state-of-the-art lab where new workers are mastering the 3D printing that has the potential to revolutionize the way we make almost everything. There's no reason this can't happen in other towns. So tonight, I'm announcing the launch of 3 more of these manufacturing hubs, where businesses will partner with the Department of Defense and Energy to turn regions left behind by globalization into global centers of high-tech jobs. And I ask this Congress to help create a network of 15 of these hubs and guarantee that the next revolution in manufacturing is made right here in America. We can get that done. Now, if we want to make the best products, we also have to invest in the best ideas. Every dollar we invested to map the human genome returned $140 to our economy. Every dollar. Today, our scientists are mapping the human brain to unlock the answers to Alzheimer's. They're developing drugs to regenerate the
So yeah, as you can see on the title in the 2000s, 3D printing gains media visibility. So, I mean, what he was saying is 3D printing in the future is really going to revolutionize everything. The millennial, in 2000, the millennium saw the first 3D printed working kidney, and we have to wait 13 more years to actually have it implanted into a patient. And 3D printed kidneys are now perfectly working, and researchers are experimenting on accelerated growth to transplant these organs at a quicker pace. So the 2010 and beyond, the years of visibility, innovation, hopes for 3D printing. In 2010, Herbie was the first 3D printed prototype car. Its body was fully 3D printed using a giant printer. As you saw the ones in Makerspace, those were little ones. I mean, this one was huge. And just as on, new 3D printing technologies are just being developed every day, and in the future, it's just going to be a lot.
So the top three 3D printing apps are for prototypes, for production, and for proof of concept models. As product development increases by 10% from 2017 to 2018, each company's 3D printing company, it's its highest priority to rely on 3D printing. The 3D companies also integrate 15 to 22% 3D printing with the first companies after a year. They also benefit from integrating and moving forward because of the time. Here's a fun fact. There are 3D printers that can print your dinner. The food printer makes everything from pizza to burgers to chocolate using fresh ingredients. Okay, here are the top 10 3D printing companies. Is anyone familiar with any of these 10? How many would you say? One? Just one? Which one?
HP.
So HP is most popular. I put up the top 2 to see numbers for the top 2 and the 10th on the stock market right now. The numbers go from 40 billion with $25 a share to Protolabs with the market cap of 4 billion. Then the 10th is X1, if anyone's heard of it. It goes from 147 million to $9 a share. Locations to learn about 3D printing. There are a lot of places where, as a student, as a person, you can learn about 3D printing. I think the biggest thing is high schools, because in our generation, 3D printing really wasn't a thing, and we all did. Does anyone remember in middle school and high school you do typing? Like just typing with the orange thing covering the keyboard? That's what we learned. But right now, high school's learning this. I really think this is a big thing moving forward. And if you learn it in high school, it's going to be so much more useful in college and moving forward. And at our age, we didn't really learn it during education. So now, at our age, we have to use workshops and online courses, same with our parents and same with the generations moving forward. Or, sorry, generations from behind us. Also, the reasons of 3D print, manufacturing, and prototyping, like I said before, these are pretty much most of the industries in life. Like everyone in here is probably going to work in one of these, plus a few more. And I think 3D printing really is going to benefit each industry very specifically with cars, with specific parts to add onto cars. We'll see if that ends up being successful in the future. Aerospace with planes, construction with beams, with building, architecture, and how to build, and different techniques on how to build houses. Medical with medical assistance, like Jason said, with the kidney, and dental with teeth, and different ways to benefit.
Alright, so before I start, I want to say that right when we went into Makerspace, none of us knew like basically anything about 3D printing and how it works, like how you get the STL file. We got in there, the guy talked to us for literally 2 minutes, and we started. So it's very simple, it's not hard at all. Like anyone could just walk in there and 3D print like whatever they want from any of the sites or from any of the, if you really want to go far beyond and make your own model. So what is 3D printing? 3D printing is a process of making three-dimensional and solid objects from a digital file, which is the STL file or the CAD model from another model. The creation of a 3D printed object is achieved using additive processes. And additive process, an object is created by laying down layers of material until the object is created. Each of the layers can be seen as a thinly sliced horizontal cross-section of the eventual object. That you saw in the video, like we should have gone a little close more, but there's a little pin and it just keeps driving layers and layers of the process. Our model was actually a lot smaller than the one that was going around. It took half an hour, so I can imagine that one took like maybe 4 hours to make, even 5 hours. 3D printing enables you to produce complex or shapes using less material than traditional manufacturing methods. So it can be like very helpful for a job interview. Say you're going to go in and you want to just show them something that you made or created. A 3D model is a perfect way of showing what you got to potential people who can hire you. This is just a little more of the process, just a little broken down. First, you need a 3D model of an object, creating using the software or just something that can scan the object. The STL file creation, which is like pretty tough to do. You probably have to go to school for that. Learn how to create an STL file. We just went on the site and we just downloaded it to a flash drive. Give it to the guy. He put it in the computer, and you're out of there. The STL file transfer. They transfer to the printer using a custom machine software that which goes from the computer right to the 3D printer and just goes right down and starts printing. The machine setup, you have to put in the ink from the top, and it's just a string that goes right down. For us, it was a smaller one. Some other 3D printers actually happen to have 4 or 5 of those, just one string coming down, and it goes all at once. So it just depends on what you're going to make. The printer builds it, disposing the material layer by layer. And then after it's done, the machine will just go up, you just remove your part, and you're ready to go. And the last step is if you want to just clean the machine, polish it, and you might want to just paint your 3D model afterwards to make it look nice. This is a sheet that you guys got already, so in the back. Thank you.
What's up?
So, how does the 3D printing work with food? Like, that's edible food that you can eat?
So I've been told we didn't really try to 3D printing with food. In Makerspace, we didn't have the opportunity to. We only did one sample, like a prototype.
Is it like a specific printer that you
I can say that from what I've seen on 3D printed food, the majority of it is like vegan item food and like alternatives, so they'll have it at like a vegan shop or something like that. But I think it's like pretty much the same thing. It's layer by layer, and like I'm just assuming that
Food
instead
comes
of
out.
ink, they just have like different flavored like
That's
food ink.
couple
Yeah.
Did you have to pay for that at Makerspace?
So every single student is allowed, I think, 250 milligrams per week to 3D print. So if you go there to Makerspace, you say, I want to 3D print this, it's about yay small, they'll definitely allow you to do that, and they'll most likely be free. Like, unless you're printing a 7-foot Goliath of Darth Vader.
Which we wanted to do. It was in the works, but it took too long.
So thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys learned a lot.
Thank you guys.